Am I live? Hey y'all, it's Alexis from Ask Alexis here, and this is our live Q&A. Feel free to share or stream or watch, start a watch party. A thing that we are doing here is just answering questions about allyship, anti-racism work, personal transformation. I'm just trying to put it on my phone. Um, so I can see the comments. But allyship, personal transformation, and all of that good jazz. And then I have a few questions here that people submitted or I've noticed as themes from my clients. And I think that it's a time that maybe I could, let you know about who I am and who I am as a person, and why I do anti racism or allyship education. And so, a question that I am frequently asked is what does it mean to create a shared future? And I don't know if you've noticed on any of my posts, it says like shared future or bust. And if you follow my YouTube channel, which is Ask Alexis 111, please like and subscribe. You'll see that for me, a shared future is where everyone feels safe and, hey, Sarah, safe and authentic to be their full selves. I'm sorry, safe to be their full authentic self. And what that means is if you happen to be queer, if you are black, if you are part of any marginalized community, or say you're a weirdo, and I'm only using that term weirdo like in a loving way, not in like this critical way, like atypical, not the same as other people, then it is hard to be your authentic self and feel safe to do so. Um, and so for me, a shared future is one where people don't have to worry about their body's survival needs in order to feel safe and like they belong. And we don't other in a way as a society that puts people in this caste system or this like a I'm above and you're below kind of deal. It is really just a future where it is safe to be queer, it is safe to seek adequate to and you have access. And when I say access, I don't mean affordable access. I mean access to quality health care. It is a future where systems of oppression do not thrive. Like it is unpopular to be oppressive. Equity is popular. Making sure that everybody has what they need in order to feel safe and valuable and belong like they belong. That is what a shared future looks like. Also, that concept like plays out in relationships too, because if I don't feel safe that you want to be of benefit to me as my partner or you want to support me, if I feel like you othering me inside my relationship, then that's a relationship I'm not so comfortable in and I don't want to belong to. So that is an aspect of what a shared that is what a shared future is for me. I want to be able to have fun and party like with all of my ratchet self and not feel like somebody gonna grab me by the pussy or somebody's going to shame me for being a fully expressive black woman. I want to feel safe and like I belong and not like I have to tuck in parts of me. So what do I do? Another question my clients ask me is like, what do I do when I've committed a microaggression? So first of all, learn what microaggressions are, and not just to black people, to all people, right? Hey Justin, like queer people have microaggressions. East Asian and Island Pacific people have microaggressions. Hell, I imagine in some communities, white people have microaggressions, right? Like microaggressions is like passive behavior. So if you are like engaging in passive aggressive behavior, chances are you likely are committing some microaggressions. So when you have committed one, first of all, don't make that the whole subject. Like, so if we're having a conversation, you recognize you commit one, say, oh, correct yourself, don't make it a big thing, and then just like move on, because it is rewiring your mind to think a different way when you are visioning a shared future and acting in accordance with that. So, like, if you committed a microaggression, you're human. Like I've committed them, I misgender or use the wrong pronouns and they're not correct. And then I don't want to make it a thing because I'm desiring to connect with the person. So I'm going to use my skills of connection, which is something you learn in the actively authentic allyship course. But skills of connection. Am I deep listening? Am I listening to reflect back to them what it is that I heard? Those same skills also work in your relationship, right? So if you are you're having a conversation with your partner or a partner or your partners, reflective listening and compassionate listening skills are very important. Are you listening to understand, or are you listening to fix, to validate or invalidate, to correct, to justify? Are you listening to respond? Those are skills that will block you in your relationship and also in your and that's a relationship with self, a relationship with friends, a relationship with anyone you desire to have a relationship. But if you desire to be an ally, you don't have those deep listening skills where you're listening for feelings, values, words, and emotions, then your chances are that connection is not really going to be built. And feel free to people who are watching. I see that I have some viewers coming in and out. If you have a question that pops up, I have the comments open down here on my phone so that I can see and respond to that question. So if you have something you want me to answer, feel free to type it in the chat. But so here's another question. What do I do when I feel like I have a strong life mission, but I don't know how to get started? So this is one that I didn't realize in my earlier journey of being a coach after my spiritual awakening. I probably should have opened with my story, but after my spiritual awakening, I didn't realize I have this mission and I have to work in co-creation with my ancestors and the universe and all that. And so the thing to do is, first of all, build your mental equivalence, right? In order to be able to dream of something, you got to know that it exists. In order to be able to imagine something that doesn't exist, you got to take parts of what exists in your mind already and then vision and put that together in a way that visions towards the future. But then, do your inner work. Start doing your inner work to make sure that you are the kind of person that is in a lot that it takes to execute your vision. And what I mean by that, so I had this spiritual awakening, and at the time I didn't know it was going to be called allyship work, but I knew that it was a part of my journey I knew it was a part of my journey to help restore love to the oppressed. I didn't know how that would play out, but that meant that I had to become a loving person. So through the practice of self-awareness and body identification and a whole bunch of meditation, I started to see some of my own connections to toxic behavior that I was where it was oh, maybe they judging me so much because I play by the rules of judgment. Or maybe oh, am I being a hypocrite? Am I this is a big one. Am I expecting someone to love me that I don't love? Or am I engaging in love in a transactional way? Meaning that I'll love you if you're worthy of my love, if you've earned it, if you've done everything I need you to do to be the right kind of person to love. So I had to become, if I wanted to restore love to the oppressed, because that was my big mission, to remind you of the question is, what do I do when I know I have and feel I have a mission, but I don't know how to get started? So then in my journey of becoming as the person who has the kind of character to be in integrity to restore love to the oppressed, then I needed help, right? So I grew up ultra independent because survival was a consistent necessity in my life. So there was food and housing scarcity as a part of my upbringing, which then made my skills of connection with people more a means of survival. So they were very transaction based, and then making sure I was real or authentic. That was a part of it. And so I had to get help, and I had to be the kind of person that could work well on teams. And so if you got a big mission and you do not work well with others, then you need somebody to help you develop the mindset to work well with others. But once you get to a certain stage where you've done the work on you learned how to work with others, hopefully through some kind of service or volunteering, when it's time to make a business, you can do like I did and get in a business coaching program. And so I am the co-facilitator of Speak, Serve, Sell, because its values are in alignment with who I am, but I'm also a participant because I had this big mission, I had all these dreams and all this talent and stuff, but I did not necessarily know what steps to execute. And it took being in a container with other people who are executing their dreams and me being able to see stuff when it's not just me in the love seat, as it's called in this program, or in the program. Like, it's not just me in the love seat. I get to see what other people are going through, and other people get to see what I'm going through. And then we're like-minded people, because we all have these big visions, and then it's like, how do we execute and support each other? So now those skills I had of learning how to work with people through my time in Alternatives to Violence Project, and my coaching on mindset through my own shift, and then actually also working in Alternatives to Violence Project, and then the other thing that I can't think of right now, but like, we have these things in common. So when I'm in this container, there's a group of people who think like me, who want to create equity and justice and inclusion, who do it in their own lane, understand the value of not like always being the person up front. So finding your community will be the main answer to that question, right? Like, work on yourself so that you're a part of, you have the character to execute your mission. Then figure out, like, read some books, watch some YouTube, gain the mental equivalence to be able to imagine and add detail to your vision. And then once you do that, join a container. Like, find a container of people with like values. And I'm not saying it's got to be the actively authentic allyship course, because that's if you want to be an ally, to which I hope you do, share future or bust. But if you're developing your mission, then you got to have a container that fits the development of your mission. So find your people, because you have people out there. If you got a big mission, there's no way you're doing that all by yourself. That's just not how it works. Think of anybody you're inspired by, and then start researching what kinds of teams they have. They know how to work with people. So the next question is, what do I do when I feel anxious? This one happens a lot when I'm working with the people, either whether it be on personal transformation. Anxious isn't the feeling that's described if I'm working with people in relationships. And then anxiety is what happens in the allyship course, because people are always afraid of getting it wrong. So the thing that I teach is, if you are, first of all, make sure you are actually feeling anxious, because I feel like anxiety and anxiousness has become this big umbrella of feelings. And so, like, you could just be nervous, or you could be frustrated, or you could be pensive. And all of those things are lower levels or less intense than anxious, and you can navigate them a lot easier. So having a language that makes it easier for you to manage your feelings instead of further intensifies your feelings is a thing to do to help with anxiety. Make sure it actually is anxiety that's coming up, and not just the feeling of nervousness or frustration or impatience, because those things require different solutions than anxiety. What's wrong with me? The answer to that is nothing and everything. The person who, right and wrong are opinions of what is. So there's nothing wrong with you, but then, are you the kind of person that you want to be? And if you are not the kind of person that you want to be, there's still nothing wrong with you. There's just work to be done for you to become the kind of person you want to be. So that means you have to rewire your mind. And rewiring your mind is a process. Neuroplasticity, look it up. Neurons that fire together, wire together. So the more you think one way, the easier it will be to think that way as a trigger. So if you want to become a different person, you got to work on those triggering thoughts. You got to work on that deep inner stuff. That's not the only thing, because we also have somatic responses in our bodies. And depending on what kind of trauma, or if you've been through trauma that is of the physical nature, I would suggest, getting a therapist to help process that. There are good DBT, dialectical behavioral therapy, is one that helps you think about the whole picture. I have clients who I work with in tandem with their therapist, because I am a personal transformation coach, right? I help people become their authentic selves and do that deep subconscious thinking, change their deep subconscious thinking patterns. But it is not I am not, I just want to make sure you know, I'm not prescribing medicine, and I am also not shaming medicine prescription. It takes a village to make you a whole person. Um, so what am I doing to feel so dissatisfied? That one is a big one, and it shows up no matter what kind of coaching I'm doing, because authenticity is the main crux of what I teach. And if you are dissatisfied, that means you are likely not aware of what the feeling of satisfaction feels like in your body. So everything you are chasing is likely achievement oriented, meaning if I do this thing, then I'll be happy. If I get this thing, then I'll be happy. If I buy this thing, then I'll be the kind of person I want to be, instead of what can I do to increase the levels of satisfaction in my life. And meaning satisfaction with yourself, with your character, who you are becoming. Um, Satisfaction, thank you, Joanne. Satisfaction with your your whole self, right? Like, what do you even know what you like? A lot of people don't know what they like, they just know what they want to do. Heck, I was talking to a high school friend on Facebook, and all he posts about is women that are, well, like women that see men as having to be providers. Now, he's decided that he doesn't participate in gender norms, right? But all he posts about is women who participate in gender norms and what's wrong with that. That does not call in who you want to have, right? All I see is you don't want to care about me if I'm in a relationship with you, as opposed to you want to care about me, but you want us to be aligned in values. That, like, there is a difference. I'm gonna just say, throw this out there. People who always and only are pointing out problems are likely way more associated with dissatisfaction than they realize. Because a lot of times we point out the problems thinking we had a solution. Yes, that's right. People don't know, Joanne. Sometimes people don't know what they want to do either. And then if you don't know what you want to do, sometimes, depending on how, if you grew up in a hypercritical household where everybody's always pointing out what you're doing wrong, then you don't feel comfortable or safe enough to go out and try new things to discover what you want to do. Or if you grew up in a super judgmental society, then you don't feel comfortable to try new things to see and know what you want to do. So, like, I know for me, I was always called weird. And as much as that made me feel like I didn't belong, now I realize how, because I was weird because I always danced to the beat of my own drum. And it was kind of like, well, if I like it, then I'll do it. If I don't like it, then I won't. And I can remember in high school having this thought like, oh, I was just doing stuff just to be different. It's like, well, wait a minute. That's not actually from what I like. Like, some stuff that's on trend I like, and some stuff that's on trend I don't. But let me operate from genuine desire. Now, I didn't have as many, I was very much in my own world in high school. But back to the question, which is, what am I doing wrong to feel so dissatisfied? If you have decided that satisfaction for you looks like being at the top of the pack, you're actually chasing superiority and not satisfaction, and that's that's the irrational thought that's keeping you dissatisfied. If you're chasing achievement instead of satisfaction, and I'm not saying that those two can't go together, but if your goal is achievement because then you'll be at the top of the pack, satisfaction is not what you're after, and no wonder you don't have the feeling of satisfaction in your life. No wonder you have all these things, or you had a bunch of failed relationships, or you have lots of career success, or even if it's not like, so career success could look like, oh, I'm just always put in the management position wherever I started my job, or like I'm always the standout. I know every job I had, I was seen as a leader, and it wasn't until I did the mindset work that I realized, I guess I am a leader. And this is after I have a degree in leadership, right? Like, I got a degree in leadership but still didn't have the mental equivalent that, like, I'm a leader. So there's that. But that's because I was only chasing achievement and not satisfaction. And I never even thought about me as a person. I thought about what I could do. So another question: how do I escape this constant sense of overwhelm? Well, overwhelm is a little bit tough in the sense that overwhelm is really a feeling, and it can be a feeling that is related to a bunch of events, but it is not a feeling that is is not a feeling that is always related to a bunch of events. Sometimes, especially if you grew up where survival was a thing, like an actual thing, or you knew that perfection was the only standard where you could find peace. Because it doesn't have to be survival. It's like some hypercritical households, it's kind of like, if you're not perfect, you're wrong. And so there's always this anxiousness about trying to be perfect, and that creates the sense of overwhelm. So with my clients who are feeling overwhelmed, we work on and dissect what that overwhelm is, right? Like, is it overwhelmed because you have too many things on your plate, or is it overwhelmed because you feel imperfect in what it is that you, hey Michelle, hey Curtis, or is it overwhelmed because you feel imperfect in what you are doing or what you're trying to execute? Because that's a different thing, right? Like, then that's the mindset of, let's talk about those narratives that make you feel imperfect. Let's see where in your astrological chart is your emotional center. There's things that are affecting your feeling of overwhelm that may not even have to do with all the stuff on your plate. So overwhelm is something that you want to like dissect and break down. I see Joanne, she said her adverse environment created a mindset that she can't pursue her dreams. Oh my effing goodness, Joanne. I'll just let you know, I ain't even learn how to dream until I was in my 30s. Because of my childhood and the way I grew up, my whole dream was to have this stable, and then growing up in society, right? Like, I am an allyship coach. So the growing up in a society that is a meritocracy that teaches us that the nuclear family is everything that is valuable in life, and then me having the contrast of a mother who is suffering from addiction, my biological father died, abject poverty, food and housing scarcity, neglect, having that be a part of my life. All I dreamed of was a family because I thought family brought stability. I had no kinds of career aspirations. I had to learn. That was that process that I was talking about earlier. Like, what do you do when you feel like you have a big mission but don't know how to get started? When I had my spiritual awakening, I got to download that I have a mission. I had no concept of what mental, like, what I needed to think of to know how to do it, right? Or what, like, think about it this way. When you start a new job, it takes like 6 months to get acclimated because you got to learn how all the systems work. When you are dreaming and you were never able to dream, you have to take the time that it takes to learn how those new boundaries of your dreams exist in order to feel comfortable. Like, feeling like you can't achieve your dreams is a part of growing up in scarcity for real, for real. So I help my clients, my personal transformation clients, especially the BIPOC ones, and that's Black and Indigenous people of color, also Asian and Island Pacificers. But unpacking how much oppression is related to your familial trauma, how much oppression is related, like, and when I say familial trauma, I didn't realize that oppression played out in my mother's addiction until I started doing the anti-racism work. Realizing how much your money story shapes your ability to dream, because as a spiritual person, I have manifested some of the most transformational things for free, but my money story would tell me, they took so long to manifest because my money story told me I had to pay for them. I had no concept of people supporting me enough because of who I am that they want to invest in me. I didn't have that. And so it was like, oh, I have nobody support me. I didn't even know how to look for support or what support looked like. That was a whole nother thing I had to build and learning how to work with people. So let me see. Let me just check the comments. So I see Sarah saying overwhelm happens when she's not connected to her values and priorities, but for others who have experienced trauma, they may be distancing and distracting from some healing that may be wanting to come through. Thank you, Sarah. So yes, the overwhelm could happen, and privilege does affect your sense of overwhelm, but also, like, it could happen if you are putting others before yourself. But when I say before yourself, I mean, like, I'm not talking about like, oh, to balance out inequity, I have to put, I got to put Black people before me. That's not what I'm talking about. And I just want to be clear with that. Your vision for a shared future is yours. So if you are putting others before yourself, meaning like they're in the forefront, that's not the same as the before yourself where we're talking about overwhelm. Before yourself looks more like in the context of relationships. Oh, he just told me that he don't like women that are like this, and that. And even though I like this, and that, I'm not going to do that around him because I want him to pick me. That is putting someone else before yourself and will cause overwhelm because it's a whole lot of work not to be you just to hope to get chosen. If when you're dating someone and they like, oh, I'm only gonna go out with men if they are doing this, that, and the third. And so you figure out how you can do this, that, and the third. You are putting that person's desire over yours. And that will create a sense of overwhelm. If you had trauma, sometimes your trauma story will dictate what you expect from people. And once again, get you a trauma-informed coach and a therapist that specializes in your type of trauma. You can go on Psychology Today to get you a therapist or a licensed practical counselor. And they let you pick, like there's this whole drop-down menu where they let you pick what is there. And then also get you a coach because the therapist is going to help you unpack that stuff and the coach is going to help you dream bigger in spite of that stuff. So it's like this twofold approach. And I know that it seems crazy to invest all that money in yourself, but if you went to college, you invested a lot of money in yourself for what you thought you needed. And really, you need the mindset work and an education. I see Joanne say, yes, so much inner work to get to where we are today. Statistically, we are 7 times more likely to commit suicide. Yes. So, in my teens, just so you know, I attempted suicide. And I attempted suicide because I didn't believe that my life could get better. And I was in high school and I was, frankly, didn't nobody even notice. And it just made me feel like more of a failure. But am I glad now that I didn't get that? Absolutely. That I wasn't successful? Hell yeah, I'm glad now because my life got way better. But it got better as I took more responsibility and also, frankly, getting older and taking more perspective helps you get there. But then when I was 17, I was out on my own. And when I was 19, my mom died. And so my mother she died from her addiction. And she gave me great skills. But the thing that I realized that was if my mother wasn't going to heal from her addiction, her dying when I was young, while I felt very abandoned and very alone, and I'm having a little bit of grief because it's vulnerable to talk about it. She didn't compound like in my adult years. So though it was a rough road, a friend let me live with her for less rent, so I was able to, with my Blockbuster, and yes, I did work at Blockbuster, I'm that old. With my Blockbuster job, I was able to afford that rent. Then I found this tiny little Cracker Jack. Well, my brother, he helped me find this tiny little Cracker Jack apartment, and it was like $350 a month. And I lived there and was struggling, right? I still only had $50 after my bills were paid. But my life, I'm 37 now, so my life got incrementally better. And in my 20s, I was making great money, and I didn't realize I was still running from the life that I wanted to commit suicide from. So there was a lot of mindset shifting that had to come into play because I grew up feeling undervalued. And if you grow up feeling undervalued, and I didn't even recognize that I felt undervalued because there was a defiant, I'm worth it, I'm worthy, I do the things, I go to self-care, I buy myself stuff, I get my nails done, I treat me like I require people to treat me a certain way. But that doesn't mean that they value me. Like I told y'all earlier, all my love was very transactional. And it was transactional because that's what I was taught. It was like, well, don't be like this, don't be like that. And so if it is like, don't be, the thing to be is that if you're not those things, then I'm going to deposit this love into you and expect you to return that love to me, whether or not you're showing me that that's how you love. Right? I didn't pay attention to how people love. I was trying to earn love or be chosen for love or be chosen to get that nuclear family. And let me tell y'all, women, I got male friends. And I see the shit. It is a whole ass playbook for how to play on women's emotions to get them to pick you, and then you, so like you give them the dream, you sell them the dream, you be everything in the beginning, and you slowly back it off. And dudes don't care about doing that because they slow in the beginning. It's like, oh, let me do what I need to do to get what I want, and then like from there I can get her to chase me. That is a methodology, and people who do that don't care about lying, don't care about integrity. They're not in it to love you. They're in it to get to consume you. So that's the thing, right? And this is just, here's some free game here. What I realized the other day, and I just want to be clear, I've been doing the work and I'm not in a relationship, but what I realized the other day is I had a history of picking emotionally unavailable men, and the place that it started with them was when they sell me that game of, oh, I've been hurt, because I'm a healer, so a hurt person definitely I'm drawn to, but oh, I've been hurt, and so this is what I don't want, and then my mind begins to scan, how am I like any of those things, right? That's not the mindset you want to have when it comes to dating. The mindset you want to have when it comes to dating is, I know what I desire, and how do they measure up to what it is that I desire. And that doesn't mean that, like, I know how I love. I've done the work of learning how to love in a non-transactional way, learning how to love as a verb, learning how to be supportive to a partner as a verb, not just something I give myself credit for. So I've done that work. I'm not talking about like do they measure up? But through my own self-reclamation journey and embracing all the authentic parts of myself and having a dream, right? Like, I got dreams that are more important to me than the relationship now. The type of partner I want, or the type of partners, because sometimes I be one too, the type of partners that I want have to do with, how do they complement my vision for a shared future? How do they complement the work that I'm doing? That doesn't, ideally they would be in the same work, but it doesn't mean that they have to be in the same work. Are they in some kind of complementary work? Hey, Anthony, are they in some kind of complementary work? Do they have, like, do we have good, do we get along, right? I also had to realize I don't really want to be coaching and counseling at home. And the reason I don't want to do that is because that's what I do for a living. At home, I want to have fun and, make dinner together, watch some TV, go on some fun dates, laugh it up, have adult time, you know what I'm saying? Frequently and connectedly, right? Like, those are the things that I want to do. So what I'm looking for in a relationship is not based on what I'm good at. It's based on what's good to me. So here's one that comes up. There's a question that's on the list in my relationship. How do I get him to listen to me? Well, first of all, did you pick a listener, right? Because we just talked about, like, are you picking for your desires? But if you're already in a relationship, a lot of times the way you get somebody to listen to you is by listening to them and going into what about them, what they have told you that is complementary to what you believe. So, like, a good example is, oh, you're telling me about something, and it's like, I hear that this is important to you. Would you say that that is important to you? They say yes, right? And not this methodical, right? I'm just saying, this is just a rough on-the-spot example. So not this methodical, but they say, yes, that's important to me. Oh, well, that's important to me too. Did you know that this XYZ, da 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 da? Tell me about another time, because you don't want to take it off of them if you're listening to them. But in that, then you can reflect back what you heard, give a little tidbit about yourself. Hopefully you're inspiring a question. And then you reflect, and then you ask them a question. Now, if you are in the relationship and you my clients, then we'll teach you that deep listening skill, right? Because if you don't know how to listen, to not give a response or to react, right? Like, some people only listen so they can know the thing to say to prove the other person wrong. That does not build connection in a relationship. If that's the way you listening, you're going to have contempt and resentment show up every single time. If you listen to prove your partner wrong, the thing is, y'all both on the same team, that means the whole team lose. If you're listening to understand, then you will build connection in your relationship, and your chances of problem solving go way higher. Whew, I've been talking. So how can I be my authentic self when I don't know who my authentic self is? This one is tied back to one of the comments that Joanne put, which is like, how do you, let me go back to the comment. Some people don't even know what they want to do. If you like being your authentic self when you don't know who your authentic self is like trial and error. So this gonna sound unpleasant, but it is the reality. When we exist on the earth with other people and in relationship to and with other people, there is no learning that is not at someone else's expense. Period. None. The learning that happens, you have to be in relationship with another to learn. The important thing though is that you learn and not judge. So when you try something new, this is on your journey to your authentic self. Like, oh, I want to add more love to this situation, and you come up with an idea for how to add more love. You try it, you see what happened. If it worked, cool. If it didn't work, then that's not something you want to do. If you are trying to figure out what hobbies you are, you got to try new hobbies. And if you like them, keep doing it. If you don't, don't. It really is bringing the intention to get to know yourself. So like think about it. This is a good way to explain it. When you fall in love with somebody, or when you are dating and you want to love somebody, you give grace. You might see a red flag or two, but you don't like focus on that. You are trying to bond with them. You are trying to develop and build connection. That's the same thing you got to do with yourself. So you got to give you grace when you mess up. You got to try to fall in love with you. You got to, and then if you're still on your emotionally unavailable side, you got to see where you can make excuses for yourself and try new things. And then you try to change you. Because sometimes you do have to change, right? Like that's a thing. People, that's just how I am. I don't like that that's just how I am, because how you are is the sum of how you have been. But that doesn't mean that's how you got to be tomorrow. And if how you are is toxic, it's not like, oh, love me and my toxicity or leave me. No. I mean, yes, there is that option, but you also could do the work to not be toxic. I remember one time I was arguing with this dude, and he was like, I'm sorry, I wish I was a better person. And he said that shit. I'm like, dude, if you want to be better, right? Like, he said that to me as if it was an excuse. And my response was like, what? Like, don't talk to me like I'm stupid. If you want to be a better person, be a better person. But that does take work. Get you a coach. Get you a personal development coach. Get you somebody to help you learn embody. Did y'all know we feel our feelings in our body? We don't just know what they are in our mind. So if you are talking about how you feel and you haven't taken the time to drop down in your body, and like, which really just means think about where you feel it in your body, but drop down in your body to understand it. You're not telling somebody how you feel. You're telling somebody how you think you feel. So how can you be your authentic self when you don't know who your authentic self is? Get to know you, and get to know you with love, like you've fallen in love with yourself. Give you grace. That's negative self-talk. It's never gonna let you be your authentic self. And I had one person tell me, I just think that I learned better by tough love. And I'm like, well, did you? Okay, so that's fine. Like that's what you need to get you going. That's pretty funny, Joanne. But if you are like, that's what you need to get you going, like tough love is what makes you feel like you are, that gives you that push to go. My question to them was like, well, have you ever had soft love? Because remember, a lot of my clients grew up in hypercritical households. So like, have you ever had soft love? Well, no. Then how you know it don't work? How do you know that is what it takes to get you going? Not to mention, the whole time we've been working together, boo, guess what I've been giving you? Soft love, not tough love. Why? Because I learned I don't like that. So I don't like giving people tough love. That doesn't mean I don't have a skill. And I want to be clear. Telling somebody the truth is not tough love unless you are critical when you telling the truth, right? Like some truths are tough to hear, but that doesn't mean that doesn't mean that somebody's criticizing you. And then if you are criticizing somebody in the truth, you are also being an asshole while you're telling them the truth. And if that's what you want to be, that's fine, but connection isn't really what you're going to build, right? You're going to build a guard or a wall, and then you're going to wonder why the person don't want to tell you stuff. So, yes, Joanne, the tough love is a part of a lot of people's upbringing, and that's why you'll hear people say, oh, I perform best under pressure. And just because you can perform under pressure doesn't mean that the energy that you spent building up that pressure was most productively or most efficiently used, right? It works for a while to get you to go because fear has paralyzed you. And the thing that you don't realize is fear has paralyzed you because the only thing you focusing on is that you need the pressure to go. That's not really what it is. So yes, tough love, and blunt compassion are two different. And compassionate bluntness or blunt compassion, two different things. And if you can be compassionate with yourself while telling yourself the truth, I do not like it when people are critical to themselves, including my friends. I was talking to my friend last night, and that friend called themselves stupid. I was like, whoa, whoa, whoa. You don't get to talk about my friends like that. Not to me. Right? Like, so is you talking about herself. However, you don't get to do that. Not with me, because you know why? I stand up for mine. I ride for mine. We share a future or bust. And criticism don't belong there. Now, that doesn't mean we don't address things that are not beneficial to our goals. We will address those. But criticism does not belong in my friend circle. I don't like that hypercritical nature. I'm sensitive. And I ain't realized that sensitivity, frankly, is my superpower. But it was a thing that I was told was like, oh, so wrong my whole life. And what was wrong with me? And my father even was like, he used to tell me, don't listen to how you feel. Listen to what I say. And so the other day, I busted in his room and I was like, ha, in your face. People pay me to listen to how I feel. Right? Like, my sensitivity and accepting that I'm sensitive also helped me realize how I wanted to be loved and the way that I need to be loved. So if you have any questions, this is going to be your last call for questions. Anything you want me to address, because my mouth is getting dry and I forgot to refresh my drink. Plus, it's been about 43 minutes. So if you got a question, please do get it in the comments. This was the Q&A. If you want to see more Q&As, please feel free to private message me. You can email me your question at askalexis111@gmail.com. I got a YouTube channel. I would love to have those questions, answer them questions on my YouTube channel and be able to give some more thought to them. Yeah. So if you have them, if you want me to reflect on something, also, you can't ask me stuff about me. If I don't want to answer it, I won't answer it. But I'm okay with you getting to know me and getting to know some of those thought processes, because sometimes that's where the nuggets of value come in, right? Like when we share our lived experiences, that's where connection and empathy can be made. And what I may find what you may find valuable about me, I may not find valuable about me, or your question might help me learn that it's valuable. That's been happening a lot. So please do subscribe to my YouTube channel, which is Ask Alexis 111. It has my avatar, which is the same as my Facebook profile picture on there. Stay tuned for my body paint and public policy party. I'm still looking for a name for that. Oh man, I don't know what else to say. I forgot. So I guess I'll be done and hope that this is my live video. But subscribe. Oh yeah. And then follow this, share the post. If you found value in it, please reach out to me. I'd love to have a Q&A session with you. If you want to have a comfy couch conversation with me for my YouTube, please do reach out to me. We can have it. Those are way casual. We use the Care Bears. I'm actually every time dressed in pajamas on my couch because it's my weekend conversation. And I am here to show y'all my full authentic self. And so yeah. And I'm not always pumped up. Like, I've been having a really, really, really poopy week, and I just want to share that. Like, because sometimes people see my high energy and feel like that means that I'm feeling good, and it doesn't. I'm nervous about the state of our country. Register to vote and vote early. Vote early and take other people to vote and convince them to vote, because our lives, our democracy, everything depends on it. Today is National Voter Registration Day. So please do vote and convince somebody else to vote. And if you think it's not worth it, it is still, like, do it anyway, right? Vote. And y'all have a great day.